thank you for staying tuned. If you're just joining us, you've not missed much. We talked about Nigeria's neighbor, Niger, and the coup that happened not long ago. And now we move to Nigeria, which the issue of the fuel subsidy removal in the country has been a contentious one for many years now. And the recent decision by the government to go ahead with the removal has sparked protest from organized labor. Now, there are several questions that, of course, come to mind regarding this issue. But before we discuss this, let's take a listen at this report compiled by Michael Ankoye, and who is also a News Central correspondent, Bernard Akede.
A peaceful protest is what they called it, and a peaceful protest indeed it was. Members of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, Trade Union Congress, TUC, and other union members chanting songs of solidarity as they marched through the streets of Ikeja. Despite some saying the protest was wrongly timed considering the fact that the government is just 2 months old, there are those who believe this protest was justified and perfectly timed.
I think the protest even came too late, because there should have been an immediate reaction to that attack on the survival of the people when fuel subsidy was removed on May 2029. But I guess, the civil society groups, labor, all of them have become also lethargic. And there's some level of complacency, I must say, that is very, very sad. But it's, better late than never.
As far as I'm concerned, the government will have to go back to the drawing table. First of all, this country has invested close to $6 billion on fixing refineries, $2.7 billion to fix as our contribution to Dangote refinery, $1.5 billion to fix Port Harcourt refinery, $1.4 billion to fix Warri and Kaduna refinery. Nigerians are demanding for explanation. What has happened to the huge fund?
Fully armed police officers lined the streets to ensure the protest wasn't hijacked by hoodlums or result in any kind of violence as feared by many. On arriving at the State House of Assembly, the procession came to a halt and the crowd was addressed by union leaders. Responding to the demands of the union, the Deputy Governor said their message was well received and will be passed on to the appropriate quarters.
A lot of things have been said. We have heard you. And the letter has been given to us. What we all want is a better Nigeria. And I'm sure that we will get there. But the leadership has said we should dialogue. We will dialogue.
The union said this protest was necessitated by the recent economic hardship Nigerians are currently facing, which was caused by the removal of petrol subsidy, amongst other issues. Pump prices have more than doubled, thus affecting the general cost of living.
The protest has finally come to an end, and today's activity has come to a close at the Lagos State House of Assembly, where several persons have addressed the crowd, including and notably the Deputy Governor of Lagos State. The Labour Congress members are asking not just for increase in wages, but for the reduction in corruption, for explanations to why certain policies are being put in place, and for Nigerians to have better lives. What effect this particular protest will have remains to be seen. But definitely, Labour Union are saying that this is not going to be the end. They will not back down until Nigerians eventually begin to reap the true benefits and dividends of democracy. Bernard Akede, reporting for News Central.
It never gets old. Each time I see myself on screen, I always feel a certain way. But then that was a report from Lagos. Now, there were also protests across different states, across the country as well. And joining us now to discuss what the protest was like in Jos, the Plateau State capital, is News Central's correspondent all the way from Jos. We're talking about Chizoba and Anionwe. Chizoba, thanks for joining us. Chizoba, can you hear me clearly, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Your first time on Report Desk Africa. We should clap our hands for you or shake something. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure here. Good evening.
All right. Now, very quickly, I'll jump straight into it. Now, first, what are the arguments for and against the removal of fuel subsidy at various states? Let's look at Plateau State now, where you are. Now, some states went full-blown for the strike, while some other states decided to join just in solidarity, like in Lagos. In Plateau State, Labour there in the state, were they fully out for the strike, or was it just in solidarity to National Labour Congress?
Well, in Jos, especially, I would say that Labour was actually fully out for the protest. They came out in their numbers. But one thing you would not take away from unionism is that no matter how so many people want to be there, some others or so many others may also choose to be on the fence or not to even be part of the union. But so to speak, the spirit of the Nigerian workers on the plateau yesterday was very encouraging. However, some people were saying, side talks anyway, that some people, some top government officials were afraid of joining in the protest. Of course, your guess is as good as mine, thinking that if they should join that protest and they are seen caught on camera, anything can happen. Job security may not be there, threats from here and there and all that. But to a large extent, so many of them were on the streets for this protest. And of course, we had so much security personnel on ground to forestall, of course, any breakdown of law and order that may come up. The CP, the Commissioner of Police in the state, CP Bartholomew Onyeka, was on ground all through from where the protesters were gathered at the Popular Secretariat Junction. From there, where we marched through to the State Secretariat and also the Federal Secretariat. And the CP in his convoy was there all through. Men of the civil defense were also on ground. Then some other paramilitary personnel were on ground. And it was a very, very peaceful protest. Also noting the situation of security on the plateau, because for some time now, in the past 3-4 months, everybody has been very, very careful on what they do, where they go.
I was going to say that. Sorry to butt in, Chizoba. I was going to say that noting the security challenge Plateau has been facing recently, it's cherry news to know that happened without any form of violence, although that wasn't much of what they witnessed in the Federal Capital Territory, where we heard that they pulled down the gate of the National Assembly. But let's go straight into the meat of this matter. Yes, the labor union is fighting for the masses, which people are happy about. But let's talk about the demands of what they are saying. A major one, which is minimum wage to 200,000 naira. How feasible is this? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about it, guys. How feasible? What would happen if the lowest of the low gets paid 200,000 naira in this
as minimum wage?
As a minimum wage.
Yeah, Chizoba, in Plateau State, first of all, let me ask: I know that there are some states that have not complied to the 30,000 naira minimum wage. Yes. In Plateau State, what's the level of compliance to that minimum wage?
Well, for now in Plateau State, there's no strong word to give on that. Probably because we have a new government. It used to be the APC in power, now is the PDP, and the governor is still putting up measures on ground to seek a smooth takeoff of the government. The commissioners, a list of the commissioners were just sent to the House of Assembly some days ago, and tomorrow morning they would be inaugurated by the governor of the state, Caleb Motwan. And with that, some other special advisors have also been inaugurated. Some DGs and executive secretaries of certain MDAs have also been inaugurated. So with the commissioners coming on board tomorrow, we believe that more activities of government to be seen and activities fully would commence. And with that,
I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned though about the minimum wage. How much was the former administration paying as minimum wage? Do we know that?
I cannot say for sure, but I don't think that 30,000 had been implemented. But there are hopes that when this new government settles down fully, it would be fully implemented. However, the government is doing everything possible to ensure that the workforce has a conducive environment. For example, the other day, the wife of the governor just announced that working mothers, especially the nursing mothers, now have 6 months of maternity leave, while their husbands now have 2 weeks. It's an extension from 3 months to 1 week. You know, so these are steps the government is taking to ensure that the workforce have a conducive environment for productivity and all that. So if that 200,000 naira will come on board,
so if now Ben,
everybody will be fine with that.
Ben, you see what I'm saying? Now, if 30,000 naira has not even been implemented in some state, how are we going to look at 200
exactly? That's the huge challenge.
What would really happen to the economy if the lowest of the low?
It's a huge question that I think Labour needs to look into before beginning to demand for as high as 200,000 naira. Of course, everybody needs more money, but then there will be an impact on the economy. Many have predicted that inflation would skyrocket if that happens, because a lot of things have to get in place. Chizoba, I'll ask you the last question. Producer just told me we have just less than 1 minute. How much of an impact do you think the higher fuel prices have on inflation and economy in Plateau states now? In Lagos, we're seeing how things have gotten very, very difficult. In other parts of the country as well, in Jos, the Plateau State capital, this increase in fuel price, what has it done to the economy and to the lives of people?
To be told, it is biting in the real sense of it. It is biting on everybody. The roads are becoming more scanty by the day. Things are getting more expensive by the day. Prices of commodities in the market, in shops, and everywhere. So many, personally, it's beginning to affect so many others, mentally and otherwise. You know, any little thing you say to somebody, if you're not guided, actually, you get a pinch of it. You know, so it's not just about the economy now. It's beginning to affect people emotionally, mentally, and otherwise. So the earlier something is done about it, the better for each and every one of those.
All right. Thank you so much, Chizoba. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for giving us an insight as to what exactly is happening in Plateau State's capital, talking about Jos. And we do hope that you join us again some other time.
Sure, anytime.
Thank you. All right, Niyi, well, that's how it's been. Just across the nation, I believe it's the same almost everywhere. The economy is biting and it's telling on everyone.
For the junta in its own instance, these are things that led to the junta taking over in the first place.
Exactly.
We hope it gets better throughout the
continent. Certainly hope it gets better across the continent. We're going on this very quick break now. When we come back, Niyi Omoniyi will be taking us through, I'll call it the crystal screen now, no longer crystal ball, where we get to see some of the topics that we should be expecting to sink our fingers into come the coming week. Do stay with us.